This seemingly peaceful and safe grass house, but inside the captivity of dozens of zombies, and the closest Rick's team is unaware of this. Glenn, the only one who knew, decided not to keep quiet.
Barn's full of walkers.
Once this statement, the crowd at dinner immediately looked up at him. All felt some incredible. Then, the group came to the door of the grass house. Shane looked inside, and there were countless zombie figures inside. The grumpy Shane immediately suggested rushing in and killing them all or just leaving. Anyway, the plan to go to Fort Benning had been delayed for a long time. Carol said they couldn't leave. Her daughter hadn't been found yet. Shane adjusted his emotions and then said they should consider another option. Rick knew what he was going to say and immediately stated that they would not leave Sophia behind. Even Daryl, who had always been quiet, came out against him, having just found a clue 2 days before. Shane taunted that he had only found a toy and that Sophia was probably already dead. They immediately started arguing and even tried to fight. It's only because everyone is in the middle of it that they don't get into a fight. Rick decided to take a softer approach. After all, it is someone else's territory. How to do it still has to discuss with Hershel. Shane, a grumpy man who was not convinced, takes out his weapon and tries to kill all the zombies. When the people continue to argue, the zombies in the grass house are attracted by the sound outside, as if they will come out at any time. Because of the exposure of this incident, Maggie was even more angry with Glenn, directly put the egg into Glenn's hat, and then buckled it on his head. Glenn's courtship path is going further and further. Rick also comes to Hershel's house to discuss it. He doesn't want to leave the farm. Life is stable here, and Lori is pregnant, so he wants to help Hershel with the farm and get his advice on cleaning up the zombies. But Hershel doesn't want to talk to him about it. He tells Rick to leave by the end of the week. Rick even used a pleading tone, offering to help him defend the farm, but the stubborn older man still said no, and the two part on bad terms. At this time, Shane has been left outside the grass house. He has to keep an eye on the zombies, which can be related to the safety of all. Rick arrived here. Shane directly asked how the results of the negotiations were. Rick said not to rush. Still negotiating. Shane is very dismissive of the negotiation method. The grass house is so close to their sleeping camp. Either go in and destroy them or get out of here. Rick said he could neither kill the zombies nor leave the place. Shane did not understand. This place was so unsafe. Why should we stay here? The two began to argue because of this.
Okay, Lori's pregnant.
Shane instantly froze and could not say anything at once. Rick said that for the sake of his family, he would fight to stay, but he had to respect the Hershel family. Shane could only force a smile to congratulate him. He didn't know that Rick already knew about him and Lori. Shane also had mixed emotions at this time, and even his fingers were shaking a bit. The baby might even be his. He then quietly found Lori. Shane did not immediately ask about the pregnancy but said that Rick was not suitable for this world, not ideal for the post-apocalyptic way of life, complaining that it was always himself who protected Lori and Carl while Rick did nothing. It was only after these words were said that Shane said that Rick had told him about your pregnancy. Shane knew why Lori didn't tell him about it because Lori knew it was his baby. Lori bluntly retorted that the baby was Rick's, and even if it were yours, it wouldn't call you dad, ever, and nothing you could do would change that. That kind of talk hurt Shane, but he was sure the baby was his. He changed his mind and had to stay on the farm for Lori and the baby. The zombies in the grass house. He will also do whatever it takes to eradicate these hidden dangers. Meanwhile, Andrea is getting her guns ready to go in search of Sophia. She has recently gotten very close to Shane and even had a relationship. Dale can naturally see that, and he has always been concerned about Andrea and rushed to advise him not to go near Shane, a dangerous person. Dale even suspected that he killed Otis, but now Andrea simply does not listen to what he says. Instead, she and Shane have a common topic. Dale looks at the guns. He strongly supports Rick and does not want to use violence to solve the problem. He wanted to hide these weapons, but at this time, Shane chased after the place and told the older man to hurry up and hand over the guns. He had to go and destroy the zombies in the grass house. Dale takes the gun and tries to get Shane to leave, but the guy who's not afraid to die is directly on top of the gun. Dale knew that he could not scare him, then reluctantly handed the gun to Shane. Shane soon returned with the gun directly to the others, ready to destroy the zombies. Many people on the team are also very much in favor of his method. After all, zombies around who cannot sleep well. Soon, T-Dog cursed an expletive because he saw the disappeared Rick and Hershel. They were catching zombies back. So that's how the zombies in Grass House came to be. Shane was furious and rushed over to the crowd, asking them loudly what this was all about. He then started circling a few people, Trying to show the farm that these zombies were not human, Shane fired 2 shots in quick succession, but the zombie remained unaffected. Shane understood that the effect had been achieved, went up and fired a shot at the zombie's head. The people of the farm were stunned. In their minds, this was a public killing. Shane told the crowd that they had taken enough risks for a lost little girl and were tired of living next to a house full of zombies. This is a different world. If we want to live, we have to fight. And we have to fight here. Shane finished his sentence and ran towards the grass house, breaking the door's lock in a few clicks. Everyone immediately alerted, and zombies also began to come out one after another. The crowd could only shoot to kill. The people of the farm looked at this scene with sadness. Although Shane's behavior was very aggressive, his method was simple and effective. Soon, all the zombies that came out were wiped out. The atmosphere in the scene was heavy. At that moment, another zombie came out of the grass house. It was a little girl. No one fired. Everyone froze. The child they have been searching for so long is here. Rick's heart also felt very bad. He had a deep guilt for this child. Sophia walked towards the crowd, but no one was ready to deal with her, even though Shane said she was dead. When he saw her, he felt bad. Rick walked towards Sophia, and although he could not do it, he needed to do such a thing this time. Perhaps Rick, in the indifferent world, is not cold-blooded enough, but it is because of his sense of responsibility that he also lets others trust him and rely on him. The family on the farm saw their loved ones turned into zombies and killed, and the mood was very low. Shane is still questioning them at this moment. Sophia is inside. Why not tell them? The Hershel family is disgusted by all of Shane's behavior, and Hershel once again tells them to leave the farm. Rick also wants to talk to Shane. Shane said it was Hershel's fault for not telling them that Sophia was here, and Daryl almost lost his life because of it. Rick angrily said he would handle the matter properly, but Shane said you would only let us go to the woods to find the little girl. But we all knew she was already dead. The two best buddies are finally at odds over their post-apocalyptic survival philosophy. In the afternoon, the two teams said a prayer to the deceased and said a formal goodbye to their loved ones. Carol, who had lost her child, slowly picked herself up. Before she was just a submissive wife. Later he will become a terrible person in the eyes of others. Soon, something new happened again. Maggie's sister suddenly collapsed because of excessive grief. But no matter how they looked, they couldn't find Hershel. Finally, Maggie guessed that he must be in a bad mood and went to the bar he used to go to before the end of the world. Rick decided to go with Glenn to bring him back. As a leader, he had to take charge, but Lori often doesn't understand him. She needs a husband who is always around, not running around helping everyone, but Rick has no choice. He needs to fight for the future. The two then set off for the town and arrived at their destination in just half an hour. Hershel was in this bar, and he had been drinking here for a long time. Rick told him about the girl's fainting spell, but Hershel said it was useless for him to return. She was mourning her mother. The people at the farm thought that zombies were curable, and Shane showed them the truth, which made Hershel lose hope. Not want to follow Rick and the others back and blame Rick's group for being the bogeyman. Rick is not angry but patiently enlightens the older man to live for his family and to create hope for them. Hershel was persuaded, but at this time, two strangers came in the door. The two sides did not immediately confront each other but instead drank and chatted, sharing their experiences. The group also explained their intentions. They wanted to find a place to settle down in the neighborhood. The man looked at Rick's car and asked Rick if he had a farm. Rick didn't answer. It's pretty stupid to expose your camp in the post-apocalyptic world. He turned his head to look at the fat man urinating and defecating everywhere. It was even more impossible to accept people of such quality. The seated man then asked, "Do you have food and water? Do you have beautiful women? We haven't seen women for a long time." Rick is silent. These people basically don't have any moral bottom line. The man then said, "We still have many brothers. Life is very difficult. Why can't you give us some space? We can share human resources." Rick didn't wait for him to finish. He immediately refused. These two people are not angry, but rather indicate that they are out there experiencing what a lot of things, sometimes taking some special means. It is likely to do something they do not want to do. Even the fat man had begun to break into a rant, claiming he wanted to kill them and take the farm. Rick is kind, but he will not be soft on his enemies. Another man pretended to persuade the fight but was looking for an opportunity to shoot, but Rick had already watched out for him. Hershel also looked at Rick in awe, not knowing what to think. perhaps surprised at his determination to kill or possibly thinking that the farm needs someone to guard it. After killing the man, the three decided to hurry back to avoid a long night's sleep. But at this time, the sound of a car came from outside. They could only stick to the door, not daring to make a sound. The car soon stopped there. It seems that there are at least 3 of them, and they are here to find the 2 men from before. Rick said to get out of here. The 3 men were just about to move when gunshots came from outside. They were immediately on alert. Rick took a look, and there were 3 of them. They were just killing zombies. And then they came toward the bar. They were about to open the door when Glenn blocked the door. The guys outside are also on alert, saying they don't want any trouble. They want to find their teammates. Rick thought twice and said they were dead. The people outside started shooting directly, but did not dare to break in. Rick told Hershel and Glenn to get the hell out of there. Glenn opens the back door and walks out carefully, but someone behind him immediately shoots at him. Hershel hit the enemy with a direct shot. Rick arrived at this time and carefully went up to check on Glenn. Thankfully, he was unharmed. Rick and the others tried to run to the car, but just as they were about to leave, the shots rang out again. Rick looked over according to the sound of gunfire, and it turned out that a man had taken the high ground. That's when another of his associates drove up, but the zombies were already surrounding them. The man upstairs jumped down but fell due to the unstable weight. The man driving the car saw the situation and ran away without him. Rick listened to the man's constant pleas for help. His heart also softened, and he wanted to run over to check. At this time the zombies also surrounded, despite Hershel shooting to cover, but the man who was down before was eaten by the zombies. Hershel and Glenn found Rick. They persuaded Rick should go, but the man who jumped down kept begging not to leave him. Rick couldn't bear to leave him behind, otherwise, he would be eaten by the zombies. The 3 were caught up in an argument. Hershel looked and saw that it was impossible to get the leg out and suggested that it would be better to kill him than to have him brutally bitten by the zombies. But Rick still insisted on saving him. Glenn and Hershel had no choice but to hurry up and get this guy out. The man's cries were too loud, and the zombies surrounded him. Glenn can only cover from the outside. Rick was also killing the zombies on the other side. Hershel was using a knife to tear the muscles of the man's legs apart. The zombies are getting closer and closer. The situation is getting more and more critical. Hershel and Glenn have started to give up. Rick had to use the easy way out. The next day, the worried group at the farm is about to go out to look for them when Hershel's car drives back. When they got out of the car, the crowd was relieved. Maggie also crossed over directly to her father and hugged Glenn, but Glenn looked somewhat indifferent and did not respond. Maggie doesn't understand what's wrong with him. Immediately after, the crowd then noticed that there was a person inside the car. The teenager was still saved. Shane looked at him. This guy brought back another burden. Then everyone sat around, and Rick told them what had happened. Andrea also raised the question of what they should do with him. Rick suggested that they take him far away and leave him to his own devices when he heals. Shane disagreed. Letting him go would bring trouble. He already knew about the place. Rick explained that we brought him here blindfolded all the way. Shane still thinks Rick has done a stupid thing. What if his accomplices come looking for him? After the meeting, Maggie finds Glenn and asks him what's wrong. Glenn said that he was in shock from the shooting yesterday and that he couldn't have been like this before. When the bullet hit the wall, all he could think about was Maggie's sad face, so he went into hiding to stay alive. Maggie was very happy to hear his place in his heart, but Glenn thought it was not his normal self. He was too selfish at the time. Andrea also found Shane. She felt that everything Shane did was right, only the way of expression was not easy to accept, and hoped that he could improve the relationship with the group. And Rick returned to the tent also and his wife about the murder. Lori comforted him also to protect the family, not blame themselves. Then Lori and Rick said that Shane thought I was his, and even though the baby in her belly was his, he said you were incapable of protecting us and would get us killed, and he was too dangerous. Rick's mind is also full of anger at this moment. How will he deal with the feud between him and his brother?